All right, this is one of the funniest interviews that I have seen. In an attempt to stop the flow of negative reporting about Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense nominee, Pete Hegseth, Hegseth decided to do a friendly interview with Megyn Kelly. Remember when I went on Megyn Kelly's show and she and Hogan Gidley double teamed me and it was just a complete and total waste of my time? Well, Pete Hegseth gets a different sort of treatment than I did when I went on Megyn Kelly's show. This is it. The interview is funny. The interview is sad, but primarily the interview is a reminder that Hegseth has no business in the world being even nominated or considered for Secretary of Defense, never mind being confirmed. Here is Pete, not exactly convincing in saying he has no drinking problem. Listen to what he had to say. You tell me whether you think this is convincing.
First of all, I've never had a drinking problem. No one's ever approached me and said, "Oh, you should really look at getting help for a drink." Never. I've never sought counseling, never sought help.
I've never sought help is not really proof that you don't need help.
I respect and appreciate people who do. But, what do guys do when they come back from war oftentimes? Have some beers. How do you deal with the demons you see on the battlefield? Sometimes it's with a bottle. Unfortunately, tragically, for too many guys, it's with the bottle, and then it's depression, and even worse, suicide.
He seems to actually be acknowledging that this is a problem, just not as bad a problem as it is for others who, for example, tragically take their own lives.
We've got an epidemic of that in our country. Thank God, by the grace of God, I found my chapters of purpose that pulled me out of that. I found, in many ways, I found two things, my two J's. My Jenny, my wife Jennifer, changed my life, saved me. There's just no doubt about it. And my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. First of all, I've never...
So if you want to convince people you have no drinking problem, this is not exactly the answer that I would give. He sort of laughs a little bit, denies he has the problem, but then does say he did self-medicate with alcohol when he came back from war, but it wasn't as bad as what happened to some other people. Not really convincing. Moments after claiming that the allegations are made up, he then does say, oh, there are some kernels of truth, here.
What you're seeing right now with me is the art of the smear. It is the classic art of the smear. Take whatever tiny kernels of truth, and there are tiny, tiny ones in there, and blow them up into a masquerade of a narrative about somebody that I am definitely not. And what they...
So far we've got, he did come back and do a bunch of drinking, just not as much as some other people. And the allegations are based on kernels of truth, but he says they're exaggerated. So he's mostly admitting to the whole thing.
Ever quote, and we'll get into this too, are the legions of people from who I served with in combat, multiple tours, from the multiple veterans organizations that I very proudly ran, and I really want to get into that, and my time at Fox News. They never asked the people closest to me.
No.
They never asked the people who were involved directly. And when they do, and I've got a list right here of people, and Will Cain and my hosts at Fox News have come out, all the folks on Fox Friends have all come out and said, this is not Pete, and we've worked with Pete for 10 years, every single morning, every single day. They never ask those people.
Yeah.
And that's what a smear looks like.
Yeah. They didn't speak to the couple of people who didn't have horrible stories to report about Pete Hegseth. Megyn Kelly then tries to help him out by saying, do you think they're just doing to you what they did to Brett Kavanaugh? Which, by the way, what they did to Brett Kavanaugh was there were all sorts of serious allegations against Brett Kavanaugh. And so they were investigated and they were explored in his confirmation hearings. And it's all just a smear as far as Pete Hegseth is concerned.
Do you think you're being Kavanaugh'd right now?
I had a member not 45 minutes ago look me in the eye in private, just he and I, and say, that's what they're trying to do to you.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do to you. That's their playbook. Get ready for more. And they're going to make it up, just like they have so far. All anonymous, all innuendo, all rumor, nothing sourced, no verification, and they're just going to keep doing it because you're a threat to them.
It's important to mention that at least one of the people who could come out and answer questions about Pete Hegseth can't because she's under an NDA that she signed when Pete Hegseth paid her off. We'll deal with that later as well, by the way.
You're a threat to their system. You're a threat to all the things in Washington, D.C., the swamp, the things that people have rejected. You're a threat to that. And so they're coming after you. And I know that. He knows that. And when you stand firm on that, it's not difficult to just continue to fight. So, yeah, we saw what happened, but guess what happened? Kavanaugh stood up, and he fought, and he won. And hopefully Republicans have learned that lesson.
Yeah. So hopefully they're all going to stand up and win. Now, hilariously, later in the interview, Pete Hegseth says, you know what? If I do become Secretary of Defense, I'm going to stop my drinking. The drinking that isn't a problem, that is being made up, that he doesn't really do, he's going to stop it. So you don't have to worry.
And, you know, we knew about the wife situation, right?
Sure.
But nothing with respect to alcohol.
It is again, the anatomy of a smear. They're trying to extend it out because they want to create a scenario where senators go, okay, I could handle this, I could handle that, but if he's drinking, I can't handle that.
Yep.
That is by far the least true aspect of any part of this.
So have you stopped drinking now, or what's this?
Thank you for asking that. So when I was...
Thank you so much, Megyn, for asking that terrific question.
So my plan going forward, ongoing, is when I deployed, we had something called General Order Number 1. And in General Order Number 1, it is you are not allowed to drink while you're on deployment, right? So if you're in Iraq and Afghanistan in a combat zone, you're not allowed to drink. That's how I view this role as Secretary of Defense, is that I'm not going to have a drink at all. And it's not hard for me because it's not a problem for me.
Right.
But I need to make sure the senators and the troops and President Trump and everybody else knows when you call me 24/7, you're getting fully dialed in, Pete, just like you always did in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I hate to say it, but this is pretty classic alcoholism behavior. And I don't say that as an insult. I mean, it's a classic thing where people who have a problem with alcohol use or abuse say, I'm going to stop drinking if XYZ happens. If the alcohol's not really a problem, why would you even need to stop drinking? Some of you know that over the years, I've gotten emails on the show. Usually it's like one a year from people who go, David, you know, I'm in recovery myself, and I can tell from your glassy eyes that it seems that you're drinking during the show and so on and so forth. And every time I explain that it's the lights that make my eyes shiny, but that I barely drink. But I don't start going, I've stopped drinking. Or if someone came to me and said, listen, David, we would hire you for something, but only if you stop drinking. I wouldn't go, oh, I will absolutely stop drinking if you hire me. I would say, I have like one drink every 2 weeks. There's no reason for me to stop drinking. It's just not really a big part of my life. Pete Hegseth is going, no. If I'm made Secretary of Defense, the drinking will stop. I'm going to stop the drinking. Yet another kind of just question mark. And then finally, asked about withdrawing from the nomination. He says he will only do that if Donald Trump asks him to.
Is there a point at which you do what Matt Gaetz did? You know, too much of a distraction, realize I can't get through, the senators won't do it. Is there a point like that?
I mean, that's the president's call. What I know in this entire process is there's only one man in America that got 76 million votes. One man that American voted for and for change in the Senate and in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
He asked me, I shook his hand, I told him I'd fight like hell for him.
The problem, of course, is they love to say this. Trump got 76 million votes. He now gets to decide. First of all, most voters voted for somebody else. I hate to remind Pete, but more than 50% of those who voted did not vote for Trump. But more importantly, Trump won, and he gets to nominate whoever he wants. That's what Trump gets to do. Senators determine whether Pete or Cash or whoever are people that they want to confirm, and that's up to them. The senators don't need to be influenced by Trump's margin of victory. It just doesn't make any sense. So a disastrous interview for Pete Hegseth, and really a disastrous day. This holiday season, after that insane election we just had, where you might be feeling like it's the end of the world, it's good to take time to slow down, enjoy time with loved ones, and here is a great way to do it. Doomlings, a delightful card game for the end of the world. Doomlings is a really funny new card game for 2 to 6 players. The game doesn't really focus on doom and gloom or the end of the world. It's just about having fun with people you love. The game only takes 5 minutes to learn. The rules are on the cards, easy to pick up even for kids, and suitable for anybody 10 and up. The game started on Kickstarter just a few years ago, went totally viral. Doomlings is now available at Target and Walmart, but if you go to doomlings.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman, you'll get 15% off. Grab yourself a copy of the game. I've had a ton of fun playing it. Hilarious, guaranteed to make it a great time with family and friends. The link is in the description.